Good evening, dear friends. Good evening, and welcome again to the Archivio of our own. Here, I'm side by side to my friend. I have to thank you, Nichka. Welcome, Nichka Marobin. Welcome again here. I'm broadcasting from Milan. You're connecting from Padua, and yes, we are welcoming our international friends. I hope that this will be another of the episodes about art, history, contemporary jewelry, and many of our things we love. So it's up to you now. Thank you again.
Oh, thanks to you, and thanks to all our friends that are listening to our meeting, and happy International Women's Day to all the women who are listening, because we are wearing something yellow just to remind the day, which is extremely important. And thanks to you again for inviting me. It is always a pleasure to share this kind of conversation and moments on contemporary jewelry and our favorite things. And the new episode of our conversation in the Archivio starts from the point we were left off in our previous meeting, and that is from the picture frame taken from Stephen Frears' movie Dangerous Liaisons, which portrayed the Marquise de Merteuil, interpreted by Glenn Close, in a blue taffeta dress with a bodice decorated with pink bows, which clearly echoed the iconography of Francois Boucher, large official portraits for Madame de Pompadour. And here you can see how close the costumes were to the real iconography of the Marquise. And the dangerous liaisons of our conversation will touch that double life that characterized the nobility of the Ancien Regime, the old nobility, and since the opening of Madame de Rambouillet's famous blue room, the Chambre Bleue, in 1618. It was a nobility who aimed at that ideal of elegance and courtesy who had led to the Enlightenment. And it was devoted also to a taste of gallantry and to the pleasure of speech and a special kind of sociability. But anyway, the same nobility never ceased to plot and to seduce, to kill, to duel, to kidnap, and also to slander and to offend. And we can see another very excellent portrait by Francois Boucher of his famous patroness, the Marquise de Pompadour, in a blue taffeta dress. In her book, The Age of Conversation, Benedetta Craveri points out that in the 18th century, the memory of that utopian function of the Chambre Bleue, or the Blue Room, persisted tenaciously. And if people were so anxious to return to play, to those gallantry manners, it depended probably on the fact that that game was turning into a second nature. It was the beginning of a doubling phenomenon that would have profoundly connoted the very identity of the French nobility until the Revolution. So thus, for almost 2 centuries, the noble elite who have played a double part on 2 different but very close stages, wearing now the clothes of the courtier or the courtesan, and sometimes those of l'homme de monde, so a person who can very sociable, very gallant, who made a courtesy as and manners as a way of life.
It seems such a long distance from today, but maybe this is really the spirit of these meetings.
Yes, but anyway, no, I mean, we are creating our age of conversation, of course, and we can see that and if we focus on the coexistence, we can see that nothing has changed, because we can have a very good conversation, but we act always in different stages. So the topics of the doubleness as a rule of life, and the game of roles between the gallant and the libertine, and the separation into distinct ways of being of the nobility, and that subtle, deep-rooted art of dissimulation of a noble class devoted to a cynical deception, revenge, and spite are just some of the themes that emerge from the epistolary novel written by Pierre Choderlos de Laclos, who lived from 1741 until 1783. And in the previous picture frame you post, we can see again Glenn Close and a really young Uma Thurman playing the role of the Cécile de Volanges. Pierre Choderlos de Laclos was an intelligent, very energetic and ambitious man who devoted and dedicated his entire life to the military career. The military career, however, reserved to him only advances due to his length of service. And he was not forgiven for having criticized with his own writings the great Maréchal Vauban, who was the great commissioner for the fortification of the Roi Soleil. And embittered by too many frustration he suffered during his military career, he decided of retiring from the military life and in order to dedicate totally to the literary career. So published in 1782, the Dangerous Liaisons soon achieved an extraordinary success with the public. But what is very interesting, it is that the same nobility who delightfully enjoyed reading the exchange of letters of the two protagonists, who was the Marquise de Merteuil and Valmont, did not realize that the novel was nothing more than a fierce criticism of a nobility which, while aspiring to ideals of renewal, was still based on esteem and not on real value. The epistolary novel, in fact, portrayed an arid and corrupted society, and through this allegory, Choderlos de Laclos denounced the aspects of a noble class who was totally oblivious to its original values and bounded in its own vanity. A vanity that, as we can see, has to be exercised in itself in suitable spaces. So the coexistence of these several souls and this double life we have already mentioned display themselves in their own distinguished and qualified places. These places are both different but very close to one another, and one refers to the salon, so the place par excellence for civilized and respectful conversation, and the other, the boudoir, which Orietta Rossi Pinelli described in a book, The Arts in the 18th century, Le Arti nel Settecento europeo, as part of those small but very terrestrial earthly paradises that the 18th century culture aimed at leisure, sentimental surrender, and wonder. So the boudoir is a place dedicated to voluptuousness, and it changes completely the view, and it is not more the room, the blue room, the alcove opened by Madame de Rambouillet a century and a half before. And the boudoir now is it has a completely different role and plays a really significant role, because it is immersed in soft lights of candles and this in illusionism of painted groves, and in a suggestion of amorous scenarios. And there is a precise visual grammar made of leisure and youth, and everything in it contributes to make this place a truly earthly paradise that offered itself as an antidote against the ghost feared by all the nobility, which was boredom, because noblemen and nobility was bored. And it is precisely to battle this menace that the plot of the epistolary novel of Choderlos de Laclos offered a delightful digression, because at that time the farce, the improvisation comedy, the epistolary novel, and the opera music were conquering the same sophisticated and cultured public, which was becoming less and less seduced by the heroic scenes and more by landscape scenes, by gallant scenes, and intimate or domestic representation, as well as precious objects and ornaments in every material. And we could say that there is a grammar of the senses, and which is displayed in the portrait we will see. And those that light, the soft colors that crept into the daily light of the protagonist and testify how much the power of this sensoriality of this of the senses was more attached to the sphere of senses, of course, and emotions, and not those of faith and morals. And it is precisely in the boudoir of the Marquise de Merteuil and the living room full of gallant and brilliant conversation of Madame de Rosemonde that the wicked deal between the Marquise de Merteuil and Valmont take place, because the deal has wants to educate among the silky bedline and the young and inexperienced Cécile de Volanges, and to seduce the virtuous and inaccessible Madame de Tourvel. So, poised between libertinism of thought and a sinful conduct, the double life and the dangerous relationships unfold themselves. And that process of sensory involvement, activated by the preciousness and the seductiveness of the other iconographic typologies, appears clear to the visitor who, having entered the room of the Alte Pinakothek in Munich, found himself observing two portraits painted by Francois Boucher. They are the portrait of Madame de Pompadour, painted in 1756, and a portrait of a reclining girl painted in 1753. The two portraits, albeit by the same hand, are two well-defined examples of that contiguity that we have mentioned before, and witness the great talent displayed by the painter Francois Boucher, who experienced not one but every artistic genre for his muse and patroness, which was La Marquise de Pompadour. Both portraits, you can see how big is they have a really different size because they have a different destination. And during his long career, Francois Boucher, who lived between 1703 and died in 1770, was painter of the French Academy, and he worked several times for the great mistress of King Louis XV. And for the Marquise de Pompadour, he conceived a small theatre, exotic boudoir, and plus a lot of number of elegant portraits, whose most famous one is now at the Alte Pinakothek in Munich. And this is what we call the portrait par excellence, because the effect is that of sacralizing, in a way, Madame de Pompadour epiphany, in a way. And even if a lot of people are not very, do not like Rokoko and this kind of profusion of roses and bows and taffeta and silky clothes, this portrait is excellent, is extremely excellent, and it portrays Jeanne Antoinette, called Reinette Poisson, later Marquise de Pompadour, and it is, to all intents and purposes, a triumph over status acquired via constant seduction, persuasion, and intelligence. And the background of the portrait shows a large drape with it's like a scenic backdrop, introduces us in the room of the Marquise. And she is comfortably lying on a sofa, and she stands out in all her beauty. You can see how this chromatic refinement and a beauty, her ivory complexion that stands out, thanks also to the cold tones of the gown, and everything in this portrait reminds us to how can I say, to the to all the through a large series of large and small objects, to the clues of the intellectual value of the Marquise. And you can see in all these kind of details throughout the books, and the bedside tables, it filled with letter papers and sealing wax. So she was not a mistress, but she was also she wanted to be remembered also for her commitment for culture. She was a patroness of writers and letters. She was a patroness of the encyclopedia writers. So she wanted to be remembered not only for her beauty, but also for this value of culture. And this how can I say, category, painting category, which is this insightful disorder, this wonderful, this very thoughtful way to display every kind of details, reminds us and helps the viewer to make a landscape, or an intellectual landscape of the mistress. And this is another very beautiful portrait, which is the Wallace Collection in London, and portrays Madame de Pompadour in a beautiful garden in the Crécy residence near Dreux. And now I know that you have something to say about this portrait, isn't it?
This is every time we already make this conversation for our Italian friends, and every time we're scrolling these details in the paintings of Francois Boucher, I discover new points, new details that are really complete the scenes, and this is one of the curiosity while studying our subjects, and I found in the history, in the metallic history of medals, some reference about the painter Francois Boucher and Madame Pompadour. And this is, for example, is a recent medal. It is not an ancient one, because it was beaten in the 60s, in the 1967, by the Monet of Paris. And this coinage is just to try a new connection between our passions and the subject that we are studying with our professions. We are here tonight in the Archivio Negroni, that in the past was a workshop of a medalist. Among other jobs, other workings, we made the molds for medals from celebrations and sports and religious subjects, and this is a little contribution that I wish to remember about the story of this place. Yes, it is a link. And I'm getting more and more fascinated about the study of medals, because, for example, here we have the verso, that is the portrait of Francois Boucher. We can see it has a really nice engravings, and it recalls to the portraits by Gustav Lindbergh, that was a contemporary of the painter. And it's really interesting to build on more documentation about history, arts, through these little objects that are medals that every day, that nowadays are not so used anymore, but they bring us a world of collectors, and passionates, in all concentrated in this small dimension. And then I will leave you again for the continuing of the dangerous liaisons that we offer tonight. And but I found this, and I found this medal always about Madame la Marquise de Pompadour. This is a bronze medal, a casted metal, and it is curious, the fact that these little objects are really spreading this kind of information in the past through the world, through the whole world. Because, for example, this medal is preserved. It comes from a collection from the Chese Museum in Wisconsin. And it's so strange that we are talking about France, about the grandeur. We are broadcasting from Milan, and we are speaking about objects that now are in the
United States.
In the United States. So it's really connecting our knowledges. So, and this was something that it's really a little gift that I found studying these matters. And this is one of my favorite portraits of Madame de Pompadour, especially because of her nice and very detailed jewels. This is always, this is always a painting by Francois Boucher, and this is really nice. All these details. I found here some of the decors that I have in my Archivio, so it's really exciting to find this other connection to our world.
But it is very interesting because we all deal in small things that convey large subjects. So it is very interesting, and it is always something that enriches everybody. And I really love this portrait because there is a novel in a novel recalling another oval. It is a sort of mise en abîme, how the French people say. So it is repeating continuously. And it is perfect because this is the perfect portrait that it is a transition from the official and elegant portrait and the other one. So that links the salon and the boudoir. So here we have Madame de Pompadour is making her toilette, and she's putting her makeup, and it's
very natural. It's a scene that is more relaxed, let me say.
Just a little bit. Anyway, I think she was always perfect anyway. Yes, and it is the link that we will see the other side of this doubleness of the Ancien Regime. So we talked about the salon.
This is the double side.
Now we can see what really people did in the boudoir and how is the boudoir. So if counteracting boredom was only possible with variety, change, and surprise in order to communicate that pleasant disorientation and entertainment that annoyed the nobility. And since it was good, according to what Montesquieu wrote in 1754 in his essay on taste, which is it was good always to form new desires and satisfy them to the extent in which they were formed. Madame de Pompadour followed this precept when unable to comply with the king's wishes anymore due to her delicate health. She always did her best to intrigue and to his beloved. And while remaining at the side of the King Louis XV for 19 years or so, which is a very long time for a mistress, and she renewed the company with the bien-aimé, the king, with their curiosity, the beauty, innumerable interests, and an incredible.
She was very busy.
She was exactly. She was very busy. I mean, there are some letters that she wrote, and she wrote, "I have so many things to do," and I can imagine, because while remaining a friend and a confidant to the king, and as a good and practical and pragmatism bourgeoise as she was, because she was not noble. Madame de Pompadour took in charge of organizing that parc aux cerfs, which supplied the king's alcove demands when needed. So the portrait of a reclining nude, painted in 1753 by Boucher, it portrays Marie-Louise O'Murphy, known as the Belle Murphys, who devoted herself with constancy and vitality to the graceful necessities of the king of the parc aux cerfs. Marie-Louise not only gave a son, not only gave him a son to the king, but also after giving birth to the child, due to her beauty and to her fabulous eyes that enchanted also Casanova, she was invited to take up service again, and she was placed in the same palace from which the Marquise exercised that constant and very exhausting commitment aimed to maintaining a rank and a position that could fall victim to the sovereign boredom day by day. So I can imagine how stressful could be being Madame de Pompadour. Anyway,
the weight between these two, the role of Madame Pompadour and the roles of the Murphys or the other young ladies around are very, very different.
Very different.
As you told before,
yes,
it can be measured with the dimension of the portraits.
Yes, and it is very interesting that anyway it is a story of women in a way, because both of them were devoted entirely to the king in different ways. And the technique, the mastering technique of painting technique of Boucher, even painting this very small portrait is excellent. As a skilled and talented painter he was, his ability in depicting every kind of material is nowadays still under our eyes. And he has the ability to reproduce every kind of material from the softness of the skin and the softness of the silky linens, and also the rounded shoulders, and everything is portrayed with grace. But also it's something that resonates, and it is linked with a very human and erotic desire. And ironically, and by a cynical and cheating destiny, precisely that girl who the Marquise could not tolerate living under the same place is now inevitably close to her on the wall of a prestigious museum in Munich. So I think that this is it is a very interesting story. It is a story about women who try to maintain a sort of power and rank, and how stressful it was. And we choose also the fact that the two portraits are exhibited in Munich, because during this week, the Munich Jewelry Week would have taken place, and we are all orphaned about. All the members of the community of contemporary jewelry community miss
really much.
Yes, really miss to meet themselves in this joyful city that is Munich during the Jewelry Week. Yes. So this, I would say, grammar of senses that emerged as a visual category connotating a specific artistic movement can take us into a field of experimentation and research in the world of contemporary jewelry, because the coexistence alongside a traditional jewelry of a specific kind of jewelry that favors languages really close to contemporary art, and thanks also to the subversion of the hierarchy of materials, it experiments with themes and thoughts that are as personal as collective ones, and so it testifies the visual culture of our era, that is, I mean, our
this
time.
Is the dangerous liaison.
Yes, and the dangerous liaison I want to talk about. Of course, we cannot compare, I mean, the plot of the epistolary novel to contemporary jewelry. But in a way, I would like to think about the dangerous relationship in contemporary jewelry, talking about the renewed concept of preciousness, to take into account artistic languages and experimentation and research through materials of common use, such as non-precious metals, paper, wood, on glass, plastic, photography, textile fibers, objets trouvés, everything. And speaking about coexistence, variety, and subversion, we can focus on some female artists.
It is a never-ending challenge of this combination or reinterpretation of different materials. And we will have a little gallery of this.
Yes, as Benedetta Craveri. Yes, because I want to recall, I mean, I always quote Benedetta Craveri, and I'm very sorry that the English people, it's not been translated yet, the wonderful portrait, the gallery portrait of women who had to deal with power during the Ancien Regime. So I would like to make a sort of small gallery of women makers and artists in the field of in contemporary jewelry who had a sensitivity and were sensible to different materials and who give to non-precious materials or materials of common use the dignity they deserve.
And we can say that this is just a very, very difficult choice to to show some of the authors, because we have to control our enthusiasm in show a lot of pieces.
Yes, and there is a world outside, so it was difficult to concentrate. This, of course, it's a small selection, just in order to see how different languages are displayed by the contemporary jewelry. So of course, there are a lot of female artists that deserve a portrait gallery. But anyway,
let's start.
I mean, yes, let's start.
So I know this one is one of your coup de cœur. C'est correct?
Oui, c'est correct. Oui, c'est correct. And she's Lucy Sarnell. And Lucy passed away a few months ago, and at the end of last year, and she was only 59, and we want to remember her and a nice person she was, her kindness, and quoting Lisbeth Dembesten, who wrote a wonderful article remembering her, is boundless energy and her joie de vivre. She always, I always thought about her canticle of zinc, because her pieces, I really love the pieces in zinc, because it is such a nimble material. She said that it is really a common use material, and she's been using zinc from 19th, and she treated this material, and how she treated this material, it became so precious, like gold. And
this is essential also.
What?
Essential, like
yes,
essentiality
yes.
in
yes.
the shapes
Very,
in her
yes, yes,
her message.
Yes. But anyway, it is always without without shine. It is silver colored, and she said once that it is a protecting material, and it is used in construction for roof, and also protects steel from corrosion. So everything in her hands, this humble material changed completely in her hands, giving such a lightness, such a really lovely, kind experience, and
in a very
we
simple,
will miss her so much. Yes,
yeah,
we will miss her
with
so
a
much.
simplicity.
Yes,
unbelievable.
yes, and really, I really loved a piece, because as it is true what everyday pieces and everything is a source of inspiration. And again, I have to quote Lisbeth den Besten, because she said that she over the years she became more and more aware of the social life of things. And I think this is the perfect sentence to remember her. And another on the other hand, about the an artist who investigates the slow process of decay in a way and corrosion is Naama Bergman. And the first time I saw her pieces was during Schmuck in 2015 or 16, I remember.
Yeah.
And it was the group exhibition Dissolved Revolved, and it is salt and iron and geometric construction. I was totally blown away about this kind. It was the first time in my life that I saw something like this. And she investigates the cycles of change and that shape our lives. And to create each piece, she waves strands of wire, and to create this kind of geometrical constructions and and giving them a three-dimensional shapes. And then the piece is then immersed in a concentrate saline solution that catalyzes the growth and this decay process of the growing of salt and the decay of the
iron.
The iron is extraordinary. And there is a delicacy also in these pieces. And
it's like if she finds like a balance between the two humble materials, that they enrich themselves in a way that is more than the sum of the two. It's like an emphasis.
Yes, it is something, because between the growth of the salt and the decay of the iron, it is something. There is always a balance between
a compensation,
between life and death. And I think it is extremely interesting work, as it is also interesting, another work of the Italian artist Federica Sala. And these pieces are from, no, we didn't, Federica, yes, Federica Sala, and the pieces are from her series True Lies, and I really enjoyed this series, and also the names that she gave to the necklaces, because it is Loud Silent and Sweet Pain. So everything in her, it is a sort of oxymoron. And as she states, she says that my pieces are created after a long process of experimentation with materials in order to subvert the common way of thinking and perceiving them once touched and placed on the body. And she always she's always looking for the equilibrium of entertainment and the tension of the material. Everybody, I mean, every artist or every maker we are displaying here works and devoted his entire career to experimenting with material. This is the sensory grammar and visual grammar that I wanted to highlight in a way. And she is very, I mean, I really loved, because there is very the rounded, also in the necklace, the rounded shape of the bull of the necklace, and there is this intervention of other material, and they create a sort of rhythm, an internal and external rhythm. And also the viewer is attracted to these creations, and that they are like a sort of oxymoron. Also, I really like the name I mean, how she entitled the pieces, because True Lies series and
it's very close to the Dangerous Liaisons.
Yes, yes, and there is also this link about this coexistence, because we are all human, and we have both paradise and hell in.
Do you think that this can be like a female attention that of those of find a balance between a condition, like for example in materials or in shapes or in humble versus precious materials, and I'm questioning myself of this, maybe a more confidence in evaluating and look for a balance, like if it is like a mission, because of how we are also in our psyche, we wish to put everything in harmony. I don't know if I am made myself clear, but this is my question, a kind of question.
I think that being an artist means to deal always and experimenting. You have to deal with a sort of equilibrium, or try to find an harmony. Because if you create object that you can wear, you have to be aware about wearability, the weight of some earrings, and the and probably yes, but I don't know if it is something as a women's sensibility or not. I mean, I think it is a sensibility of an artist, and especially an artist who creates jewelry pieces. And you have to be aware that, I mean, otherwise we can call it sculpture, and sculpture, it's something that you put in on a shelf, or in an entrance, or in a square. So it deals with different sizes. But I think that if you are a contemporary jeweler artist, you have to have clear in mind what you have to what you want to create, and it's step by step, and by practicing and experimenting, and to see how the material responds to you, because I think it is this we are all in search of balance, probably jeweler more than for that other person or that other people anyway. And the idea, when another dangerous liaison in contemporary jewelry is between photography, pictures, and contemporary jewelry. And this is the German artist Bettina Speckner, and she is from Germany. And even if photography has been used during the 60s as an element for jewelry, also we cannot forget Gijsbakker, for instance, really Bettina made something completely different, pioneering a technique using ferrotypes. And she took very small pictures that she made herself, and that she found at home, and she works on the pictures that are by inserting elements, precious elements, or corals, or shells, and giving to these kind of ferrotypes a distinctive sign of a specific trace of his visual grammar. And she works with fragments of pictures, and she combining with the several elements. We can see this with a coral or pearls, or also with this is a really lovely one. Again, a novel in a novel. Like
another kind of portrait. No?
This is another kind of portrait. And the use of these materials on the ferrotype, it seems like acting on a canvas. And Lisbeth Den Besten says that she wrote in an essay on jewelry that this imagery, all these pearls and precious stones, create such a sort of rhythm. And it is true, because the viewer is in a way conducted to look at the different elements of the composition, and they are really romantic, and sometimes also how can I say, surrealistic in a way, but they are so there is such a poetry it is a sort of poetry here. I can read it as a poem in a way, and I think she's one of my favorite artists anyway, because I really love photographs and pictures also. And another young artist that another young maker who uses pictures in her works is Alejandra Solar, and she's from Mexico City, and she uses pictures, and she places onto rock crystal and on stone, which is a completely different kind of technique, and she creates this really dreamy, or not, it depends, landscapes, and
they are like a projection.
Yes. That's something that reminds about how the different degree of civilization or decay, it depends. So she says, as the artist's statement, she says, my work captures the images that flow through my mind as various stories play out in my head, and themes like mystery, magic, nostalgia, and silence influence my work, providing a constant stream of images. And you can see all these kinds of images that are placed on stone. They recreate a sort of mindscapes, and it is these images are drawn, obscured, crumbled, and sunken. And the process is organic and very intuitive, and each piece has a completely different evolution, because we can see how the different kind of material, stone, it could be rock crystal, agate, quartz, slate, or other gemstones, responds to this kind of technique. And I really love, because they are always as for Bettina, also she uses landscapes, but these kind of landscapes are always empty. It depends on the mood, but anyway,
most of the times they are very dramatic.
Yes.
A dramatic choice of the imagery to give the strong of the piece, the strength of the piece.
I think there is more mystery, and there is more mystery and magic, and in this kind of landscapes, but I really love them, and I find them very interesting. Anyway, the technique is very excellent. And the other one, another relationship, very this is very dangerous liaison, is the one that emerges from the works by Lauren Tickle, and she's from United States, from New Orleans, and she the first time I saw her pieces, I was totally they really stunning pieces at Talente, always in Munich, and they are carved US dollars, and
it's not so immediate when you look at them for the first time.
For the first time, you see it is paper, and then you discover it is banknotes, and this is really this is another collection. And she says that my work is an experiment in the concepts of value and adornment, the process in the increasing value series
yes.
takes currency of defined value, distills it to graphic elements, and then reimagines it into an object much more precious. So we have different kind of preciousness, a different approach to the material, a new and innovative and an excellent technique also here, because it is extremely difficult, I think, to work with this very detailed images, and in a way, I know this is
very
not
near to a Zen practice.
Yes. But in the last, I mean, I have the feeling that it is something like a miniature. You know, this necklace is a stunning piece, because if you look at carefully, and if you look at the foliage, you have the feeling that it is something like a miniature that takes she gives lives, you know. I mean, it recalls me to the foliage in the manuscript of the Burgundian duchy for me, and
it is also an information that each title is correspondent to the currency of the notes used to make the piece, but really it is something, a liaison that is different with the, as you well said before, the increased value of the
yes, this is an piece. Increased value. Yes, it is the price that gives you the value or other, which is the value of jewelry, of contemporary jewelry, and
from this we have another.
Exactly. Yes, and from currency and from banknotes, we go directly to chips. Yes, Esther Popma van de Kolk, and chips and plastic from bank and telephone cards.
Yes, I'm very passionate about this piece, because I can remember when I could try to wear it, and it's really like a celebration of the classical model in jewelry, the tennis bracelet. And it is subverted.
With an innovative, yes, with an innovative language. Yes,
that really it's like upside down with the tradition, with the icons of jewelry, and communicate this value, this alterate value made by the discard credit cards, that value in the credit cards when you throw it away because it is expired. So it's really interesting. Because
the idea of value, the idea of preciousness, and it is how can I say? We have this, I mean, as Lauren Tickle using banknotes and Hester Popma using credit cards, both they are dealing with the idea of value and this kind of preciousness, and the fact that you can create something without using non-precious material and with common use objects. I mean, the stones I've discovered are formed with pots of used plastic bank and telephone cards on a setting of golden chips woven together with yarn. So, and it is, I mean, I think it has to be a really good wearability also.
Excellent wearability with the magnets that close them.
Fasten,
Fasten it so precise, and it is very light. It's unbelievable, and as this particularity of the shades.
Yes, you told me that, and she wrote that the shades and the color palette was taken from the analyzing the wine.
The microscopic view of the wine. Yes, because was a piece presented in Gioielli in Fermento few years ago, in 2014, and that was really fantastic.
A very interesting.
The bracelet in its simplicity, but really powerful.
Yes.
I hope she will do more pieces on this topic. I remember she exhibited in Munich as well that year with a big necklace, all made about these golden chips.
Yes, but as far as I know, there are a lot of artists who make pieces with credit cards. But I found very interesting the idea that she studied also, because it was this piece was made for the contest Gioielli in Fermento, because she studied also the color palette of the and the shades of the wine. And if we think about Rokoko, and if we think about this grammar of senses, of course, we can talk about this Giorgia Gremuti piece, Becoming, which is a brooch. It was presented from Gioielli in Fermento in 2016, as I remember, and it was
pure silk.
It is pure silk with a different color of wine, of course, because if I remember well, really, that
it comes from I think not a very simple, quite a difficult period of the life of Giorgia Gremuti, and she was there is not only the shades, but also a kind of drama, a kind of trouble in this kind of fermentation with that deals bodies,
the theme
with health, that deals with many things.
The theme of that edition was freedom and constraint. So so she said that this piece was constrained by memory, but set free by the process of transformation. So how can you always dwell in this kind of, you are always searching an equilibrium and harmony, and between what you have to do and what you want to do, and
there's an inner trouble. I read this this message in this piece, this kind of interior trouble in make choices, in make decisions, in act and or react to facts, to constraints that you cannot maybe overcome really easily, but you have to fight, and you have to fight inside yourself.
Yes, yes, of course. Yes,
but
it is
in another way, if we focus on the surface of the many layers that any contemporary jewel and any art jewel can have, we can also see the preciousness of silk and these the shades that are so expressed in the 18th century, and this is a contemporary way to express also these shades and this softness and delicacy for a piece of jewelry.
I always think that that art is like a sort of you have to be an archaeologist because it is multi-layered. It is multi-layered, so it is, and each piece has what I find it is fantastic because contemporary art as contemporary jewelry, deserve. How can I say, deserves a respect in a way. In reading the pieces, you have to be well informed in a way because I do not believe think that you can feel contemporary art or contemporary jewelry as by feeling it as you feel it at the first sight. No, it requires notions and knowledge, and also for this last piece that are from Liana Pattis. I found very interesting and very useful the statement she gave and the research file she sent to you and to us in order to understand, in order to get in touch with the piece, because I found very I always think that reading the statement and give the artist to explain, because words are important, how, I mean, not only how he made the piece, but just to explain the why he made at that moment, and
that is was very particular.
Yes, if we think about if we think to the series of works of Liana Pattis with chains, with fragments now, this has nothing to do
with like a parenthesis.
Yes, it is something completely. It stands it stands alone, and I think it has a really powerful meaning because it comes from a research on the spondes, or the libation in ancient Greek of precious liquids such as perfumes and honey and milk and wine. So the idea, and it is made of wax also, and this is
the wax of the candles of the offerings,
yes,
the dedicated offerings.
Yes, and this is very very different, a very different work from the one I used to know from Liana, because this probably as something which is deeply related of her inner feelings in a specific moment of
and
her life.
and also
yes,
her roots.
Yes,
as
of course.
She's based in UK, but really she's from Cyprus, and she's very attached to her Mediterranean origins, and this like a let me say, I'm afraid I have not the right word in English, but this sacrality is that a word in English? Yes. No.
I will have to check the dictionary.
The holiness
Maybe.
of this work, because it's very, very close to the way she wished to be always related to her origin, to her family, to the way the family could overcome difficulties, and with this kind of votes that was very used in the tradition,
the typical elements of the Liana Pati's grammar are all in it. I mean, there is a chain, there are elements that are linked together, but anyway, she uses wax, and this is very, very interesting, also because she said the main body of the work captures the essence of the offered ring as a symbolic ornament, denying in its functional use, thus creating unconventional jewelry with a strong spiritual connotation and references, and everything is linked together. There is a chain in a chain.
And it was like a body of work that challenge herself and make her be stronger in her research with chains as well.
Yes.
I mean, I think this was a really like a shift that she really recognized as how chains were her means of expression in different and deeper analysis, like the more recent works. We are speaking about a work of 2015, when in the always presented for Gioielli in Fermento, where the theme was the unconventional jewelry. So this was her challenge to the unconventional
jewelry.
Really, really deep, really the inner side of her jewelry.
So, and this is why we can call it the dangerous liaison also in the contemporary jewelry, because as we can see, as we have seen in this small, tiny little gallery of female makers, women makers, there are unconventional jewelry with unconventional materials, but with a very, very strong technique, and with incredible flow of energy and creativeness, and also experimentation. So, and experimenting with the materials is the idea that I wanted to give you with this part of our talk. So,
and I have to thank you, because we could also in this gallery we also could mention some of the artists from Gioielli in Fermento. I just wish to recall the two books. This was the 2017 catalog, where the master collection is kind of a synthesis of the project in the 6 editions before, because the project was conceived in 2011, and then as we could see with these examples from the female artist, was really evolving in until the new editions. And it is really unbelievable that we passed already 1 year, 1 full year without any exhibition, any real sharing of and meeting, a real sharing of experiences.
Meeting in life, yes. Yes,
it's something that I'm very suffering, as many other people, of this situation, and I really do hope that 2021, at least the second half of 2021, will
bring us all together. Anyway, we have this technology that helps us, and which is very important. Of course, an online exhibition is not like an exhibition in life, but anyway, we have the possibility to get in touch in this way. So I have to thank you, everybody, and you especially, for giving me the possibility to talk about this, our favorite things.
Yes, absolutely. And I thank you, Nichka, very much. I see that we have some greetings from Ireland, from Italy, and I hope that this conversation will be also followed on YouTube, where it remains registered in the playlist of the Archivio of our own. So if you, we have Paula Castro that is, she's listening from Argentina or Brazil. Sorry,
Paula, she's from Portugal.
Portugal. And it's really nice that we can share these moments with all over the world in this constrained way.
In our own small, little, earthly paradises.
Yes, and really, we run and study for the next episode.
Next episode will be there. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Bye. Thank you. Thank you, Nichka. Thank you so much. Bye, everyone. Ciao.